Hey, what's happening, everybody? Rod J back again. Thanks for swinging by to check out another video. Usually tonight is a night when I do a little bit of beer news. It's kind of been a slow week in the beer news area, but I did see a piece today that the Brewers Association released talking about the top 50 top 50 craft brewing companies, as well as overall brewing companies. I thought I'd share that here on the channel. Going to go ahead and maybe count down and check out some of these companies that are actually listed here. Maybe some of these are your favorites out there. Maybe you enjoy their beers, but it's kind of interesting to see who's doing what out there in the brewing industry as we're hearing about some different things happening with some of the breweries. So I'm going to go ahead and get this set it off here. And taking a look on the list now, under the top 50 craft brewing companies, the first one up there is actually Yuengling & Sons. So everybody knows the Yuengling beers. They're actually expanding into different states at this point. We now have them in Kentucky. They expanded down to Arkansas. They actually brought in a new PR firm to even get their name up a little bit more out there in the industry, although I'm not sure how many people don't really know Yuengling. But you'll see them grow a little bit more out there. But they are the top #1 craft brewing company. People will always ask, like, are they really craft or micro? Technically, by definition, they are, because they do make less than 6 million barrels. So because they create less than 6 million barrels, they do fit that definition. They are independently owned and all that stuff. So they're #1. Behind them is Boston Beer Company, which, of course, is the Samuel Adams line of beers. And with them, they also are a craft brewery. A lot of people sometimes confuse and think they've gotten too big, but when they were actually founded, they were founded as a craft brewing company under the Boston Beer Company name. So they've always been independent, and they're still independent. So they're up there at #2, and then you got Sierra Nevada behind them, which a lot of people know, New Belgium. You start getting into other companies here like Duvel. You get into Gambrinus, which I'm not even familiar with. They're out of the San Antonio area, it looks like. So if you're familiar with them, let me know what you think about their beers. Put some comments in the comment section. You get Bell's Brewing out of Michigan. Bell's does a lot of good brewing stuff up there as well. In fact, they're about to release one of my favorites from them, which is the Oberon, which is probably my favorite wheat ale that's actually on the market. Then you got Stone Brewing. Of course, Stone was started by Jim Cook's son, Greg Cook, out there in California. Then you got Canarchy. Not as familiar with them. They are out of the Longmont, Tampa, St. Lake City, Comstock Park area. So they're covering Colorado, Florida, Utah, and Michigan. So if you're familiar with them as well, go ahead and drop some details on them. Deschutes doing some great stuff out of Bend, Oregon. They put up some pretty good beers. You also have Brooklyn Brewery as well, out of New York. A lot of people are familiar with the Brooklyn name. And, of course, you have Dogfish Head out of Delaware finishing out that #12. So Dogfish Head, a lot of great beers from that brewery. And so I'm not going to go through all of them, but it's kind of interesting just seeing some of the names on the list. Menhouse is actually #13, which I'm not sure why they make as many sales as they actually do. Menhouse is not actually one of my favorite beers out there. I've had a few of their beers, and I'm surprised. I mean, I know they're usually cheaper type beers, so maybe that's the reason why people buy them, but overall, they're not one of the ones I would expect to be that high up. Artisanal Brewing Ventures, Sweetwater Brewing out of Atlanta does some good things. New Glarus. So you can see kind of how this list breaks down. And all of these first 50 are considered to be craft brewing breweries. So they're going to be your smaller independents. You got Odell listed on there. Stevens Point, 21st Amendment Brewery, Shipyard, Full Sail, Trogs. Great beers from Trogs out of PA, Long Trail out of Vermont. You go right through this list. You have some pretty decent beers overall. Now, a good thing that I like about seeing on this list, they have the top 50 overall brewing companies. So this takes into account the macros and the micros. So in taking a look at this, your #1 brewery is Anheuser-Busch, right? Because Bud Light's #1 beer out there. Leah Miller Coors, nothing really of a surprise there. Constellation, another big conglomerate, Heineken, Pabst Brewing. But of the top 50 brewing overall breweries, 40 of them are actually considered to be craft breweries. So craft is making some pretty good inroads versus the big boys, so to speak. You have Yingling showing there again, you have Boston Beer, and you have the Sierra Nevada, New Belgium that we talked about earlier. Now down here, one that people often don't realize isn't really considered to be a craft brewery anymore, but people still get a lot of their beers, is actually Founders. And we're actually going to be doing a talk about Founders tomorrow night on the Beer Flow show. But Founders technically is not a craft brewery anymore because of the amount of stake bought in their company. They're actually considered to be more to the macro side now, even though they still make some good beers. Just one of those things out there that a lot of people aren't aware of, but they will go out there and get the KBS, they'll get the CBS, they'll get the different beers from them, and they'll say, well, I'm all pro craft beer and everything. Well, technically, and again, it gets technical on the line of what is craft beer and what's not. If you're following a Brewer Association definition, if you are, they're not craft brewery. Then I'm just going to leave it like that. You have Bell's in there. You have Sapporo, another large one that's actually been buying more companies to expand their portfolio. And then, of course, you get back into the Stone and the Shoots, the Dogfish Head, all of that involved there as well as you go down the list. But it's good seeing some of these craft breweries getting up over some of the bigger names that are out there in the brewing world. So this is a list that was just released today. There's also a map they have here of the top 50 U.S. breweries to see here and where they're located at in the country. A lot of open land there in the territory, but you have some, mainly California's huge, Oregon's, pretty huge, up in the Northeast. Even where I'm out here, kind of in the Cincinnati area, there's actually only one right there. And guess what that one is? That is Rhinegeist Brewery, one of our local Cincy-made breweries, cracked the top 50 for U.S. craft brewing companies. Great to see them on the board. And over here in Indiana, that is Three Floyds that also cracked the list. So 2 good local breweries in my area that is great to see now on the list of top 50 craft breweries out there. So if you're ever looking to see, what fits a craft brewery, I think they had a definition I thought on here as well, but maybe I was wrong. But again, you're making less than 6 million barrels of beer. You're small, you're dependent. You're not owned by a bigger company with more than 25% stake in your company. That's considered to be one of the large macros. And technically, you're brewing with traditional type products, although in craft beer, it gets kind of gray because people are adding different things all the time. But just thought I'd drop that out there tonight to share it out there for the new list that just came out earlier today on the top craft breweries in the country. Now, this is actually done by production. It's not done by review or rating. So if you're wondering how is Yingling number one, it is done by the barrels being produced. That being said, thanks for swinging by to check out another video. If any of these beers are your favorites, drop some names in the comments. What do you like from some of these breweries? Are you surprised by this list at all? Are there some doing better than you thought they were doing? That all being said, I'm going to go back and finish drinking my BrewDog Elvis juice. Look forward to catching you guys next time. Make sure you catch the show tomorrow night. Live, we'll be kicking off around 8:45 to 9 o'clock or so. And then we'll be talking Founders Brewing and other beer news and all kinds of crazy beer antics. Thanks for checking out the video. I look forward to catching you then. Keep drinking those good craft beers. And remember, there's always time. Get your beer on. Cheers.